So Ocasio Cortez was giving a speech in front of a crowd and says that we're all going to be dead in climate change in 12 years if we don't do something about this. Now, she could have been exaggerating or being hyperbolic, but to me, this does raise some serious issues. Again, when you're talking about climate change, and this is people I've had discussions with online and in real life, they always just want to say, there's a consensus, that's it. You're anti-science if you don't believe what I say, there's a consensus. Well, what there is a scientific consensus on is that there is warming occurring. There's also, I would be so generous as to say there's probably a consensus that man has some input in that. However, that's where the consensus ends. There's all kinds of disagreements. How much influence does man have? How long do we have before things get to the end of the world? How catastrophic could things get? What exactly can we do to make the situation better? What exact behaviors are we doing to make the situation worse? Is it too late to do anything already because we're all going to be dead in such a short time frame, etc.? There's all sorts of argumentation to go on there, but these arguments are never nuancedly fleshed out by people that are very concerned about climate change. They just say, no, there's a consensus to deny it makes you anti-science. And what you end up seeing is claims like this, wild accusations that this is the shortest time frame I've seen said that we're all dead in 12 years. And I'll admit that she's probably being hyperbolic, but I'm just guessing, I would say she probably does believe in a short time frame that the world will be catastrophically changed and humans will be wiped out. I know I've talked to people that believe that. Like, let's say the next 100 years. And there's all sorts of questions asked, and like, is it too late? Is there anything we could do? All sorts of questions that could arise. But the purpose of this video, I want to say, is two things. One, we need to have that nuanced discussion. To just silence people as being anti-science is pretty crazy. I mean, it makes you almost like a cult. The end of the world is nigh, and anyone who disagrees with me is just irrational and shouldn't be discussed, shouldn't be involved in the conversation. That's pretty crazy. That's getting to some very religious, like cult-like expressions. And the second thing is, we see this often when people talk about how the end of the world is nigh, or there's certain things that are so heinous that will lead to the destruction of things so sacred that we have to take extreme action, such as we need to kill Nazis, we need to punch babies in the face, or we need to punch babies in the face. We need to kill baby Hitler, was this Shapiro thing, how dare you say he wouldn't have killed baby Hitler? We need to punch Nazis, things like that. Or in this case, we're all dead because of climate change. So it raises the questions. If you believe that, if you truly believe, for example, that Trump is Hitler, that he's going to round up gay people, he's going to put brown people in concentration camps. There are people that believe this. If you really believe that, what are you willing to do to stop that? If you really believe that in 12 to 100 years we're all dead from climate change, what are you willing to do to stop that? Are you willing, let's just take the climate change. Are you willing to take people's property? We're all dead in 12 years. You willing to take people's property to help deal with climate change? Are you willing to heavily restrict what they're allowed to consume, both food and energy-wise? Are you willing to jail people that would try to stop you from taking their property or restricting what they could consume? I would think that a person could come to the conclusion, yes, I'm willing to do all of that. Because the consequence is we're all dead in 12 years. In fact, you could justify all sorts of atrocities. We have to save the world. So we got to break some eggs. We have to. That means locking up people that disagree. That means using violence if they disagree. Because what's the alternative? We're all dead. And therein lies the problem with this type of mentality. They're so certain they're sure, even though there isn't evidence for this position, we're all dead in 12 years. And then they will use that extreme position that they refuse to even debate to justify all sorts of atrocities. Now, we saw the beginnings of this with Cortez and her ilk's Green New Deal, which I did a video on you should check out, which is how I was like, this is insane. This is Orwellian. It's draconian. The type of things it was suggesting is total government control over, like, employment, life, things like that. She's okay with that, though. Right? That's just step one. Don't be mistaken. Once they say that's not enough, we're still going to die in climate change. We need more intrusion into your life. And why wouldn't they? They believe this. There were other people that believed this type of thing, that we needed massive government control of people to stop an impending apocalypse or impending destruction of whale life. Some of them were called Stalin and Mao. That's exactly what they thought. Do you think Stalin started off and Mao started off thinking, yes, we're terrible people that will order executions of people? Of course not. They believed that their countries were going to fall apart unless they took drastic actions. I doubt they were happy at first to order the execution of people, to order the taking of their property or the jailing of them. They probably weren't happy about that, but they thought, God, we have to do something. These are this is a behaviors I wanted to take, but it's for the greater good. Because the alternative is so extreme, it's the end of all of us, that we have to take action. And little by little, you start to justify more and more atrocities. And then, sorry, you were wrong, Stalin. You were wrong, Mao. Turns out your countries didn't vanish. Everyone didn't die because your plans weren't implemented in the end. That's what worries me about this type of rhetoric. There are people that believe this. There are people, again, maybe Cortez will come out and clarify her remarks, but she said it. She said 12 years. There are people that believe that we're all doomed if we don't do something. They'll even say things like, good, we need a bunch of humans to die. They're polluting the earth. We need far less humans. A war would be good, all sorts of crazy stuff, justifying all sorts of death and violence. You have to check yourself if you believe something this extreme. You have to be 100% certain you're true. You have to be scientific. You have to be open for discussions and debate. Or you're acting as a cultist. And I'm afraid that we've elected people that are going to act in cult-like behavior, saying we need to justify all sorts of suspension of personal liberty and freedom from people and give massive government control over things because of the impending apocalypse. And there's no discussion allowed about it. So, yeah, I thought it was kind of a shocking statement by her and something that's worth keeping an eye on. So, all right, if you like this video, please click the subscribe button and give it a thumbs up. And I'll be putting more videos up daily. So have a good one.